سحان فالق الإصباح.
All right, back again, live the Monday locker room. Hey, as you can tell, the boss is away at play. Yeah, Hamin, man, he is on one of those hidden, forbidden islands, up by all that pure, beautiful oil, baby. Yeah, Hamin away, but hey, we are still with you here for the Monday locker room. Switching gears here, not on Hamin's channel, over here to Hamin Media Group YouTube. Hey, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe. Make sure you get the alerts when you get all this awesome content, and make sure that you like. Give us the thumbs up on everything there. Hey, we've got a lot to cover here with you.
See that?
Smashing those faces on the ramp. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, that R to the B to the V, Richard Bronson Vickery, back again, taking the reins, taking the steering wheels this week here on the Monday Locker Room. Hey, but I'm not alone. I've been looking forward to this conversation. We've got a little crossover, little blackout, if you will. He's getting that phone call on the other line, but he'll be back here. I got Mr. John Hartnett, one of our pro HMG handicappers extraordinaire, joining me for a little conversation here on this week's episode of the Monday Locker Room. As I said, a little crossover. I wanted to bring Hartnett on to do a little PR trail, if you will, to put over our new show. This week will be number 4 weeks going strong. Great content, great conversations, but it is the Bottom Line Sports Talk podcast, available again right here at the Hamin Media Group YouTube channel. Guys, we go live each and every Thursday at 3:16. Oh, hell yeah, 3:16 p.m. Eastern for the Bottom Line Sports Talk. We're growing that audience. We want you to help spread that word. So we're going to mix it in here a little bit today. Hartnett, some sports and wrestling. But I got to say, man, you had a hell of a week with your NFL picks, but you and our other pro handicapper, Mr. JV, man, a little tough on the college this week.
Yeah, I think I finished overall, what was it, like 9-2 or something like that against the spread between college and pro. So yeah, it's a good week.
All right,
good week.
And a very good week here for Hart. And I know JB, he struggled a little bit this week with the college, but he absolutely himself knocked it out. I think he only had maybe 2 wrong on his pro picks, his NFL picks. But when we get into in kind of the format of the show, it's very similar to what you get with the locker room series. It's very loose knit. It's just some guys going in there that we think we know our business, but we're having a good conversation. We cover a bunch of headlines, and then we break down the betting lines for you guys. And when I talk about our pros there, Hartnett and JB, man, these guys give you talk about peeling back the layers upon layers upon. They get down to the core of giving you what you need to know about those goods there. All right, you still with us there, bud? I know you get a couple hits there. We got the chat filling up. Give a couple shout-outs out here. Mr. Kenneth P., what's good, RBV, and Hartnett. Hope Ben is enjoying his vacation with the 37 wife. He is. He was sending out some pictures to our talking heads, to our producers, man. He's out there. They're on the water today. He was taking shots of some exotic-looking lizards, some bikini babes, the wife's in bikinis, some snorkeling going on. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those good eats that Hamin gets into on his travels that he always sends over. But Hartnett putting over, I think we're going to get him. He's going to rejoin us coming back here. But again, hey, we got there's a lot of headlines that maybe aren't just exactly pro wrestling, but are pro wrestling-esque that we're going to be talking about today. And of course, as I've regularly said here on the airwaves, if it be the Monday Locker Room or across the board, any of the fill-in spots I'm doing with the Hamin Media Group, when you look at the world of entertainment, you look what we got going on with Diddy right now in the freak shows, the sex parties, whatever they got going, the gallons and gallons of baby oil, the hundreds, 911 dildos that were discovered, the more and more that's coming out about this story. So we look at what's going on in entertainment. We look at politics. And I don't think I need to put over how crazy that world is. Everything as we get closer over a month, a little bit away from election day here, the zaniness that's going on from people right up the road here in Springfield, Ohio, eating cats and dogs to, the Democrats, just want to give all the handouts, whatever the case might be. So we got politics, we got entertainment, we've got the world of sport. We're going to be covering some of that in our conversation, but all of those genres, they continue to out pro wrestle the world of pro wrestling. They're the ones giving you the crazy characters with the absurd storylines. Absolutely crazy. But now we got Hartnett back. Now, so let's get to the creative side of this, though. Hartnett, when you're talking about handicapping, like I said, man, you go into such detail. It's crazy the stats that you and JB come up with and how you look at this thing. You guys have been doing this each for over a decade. Man, when you're sitting there to break something down or studying something like that, man, how does that all begin? I mean, you're dropping numbers on me that I couldn't even fathom.
I mean, it's gonna sound messed up, but got to thank my family, my uncles, and my dad for just drilling it into me at a young age and taking myself, my brothers to the track and then to the sports book. And, we used to go every year for the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, and that was so much fun. And you learn so much being around guys that do it for their, whole entire lives. And they passed on a whole bunch of tips and tricks. And, I try to do them proud every weekend. And I just use a lot of the stuff they taught me. And now there's just so much access to things that you never had before, and different trends and all sorts of different numbers. It's crazy, because back when they were doing it, it was pretty simple. Now there's so many props and different things you can bet on. It's pretty crazy, but I stick to what I know best, and that's usually playing against the spread. So yeah, that's what I like to do.
It's funny when you talk about, like, even in wrestling, when we look at it and see how the sport, the business has evolved. You mentioned the old school, how simplistic it was. Absolutely. I remember my first bookie was a guy named Leo, Big Leo. And I mean, he was some old, like, Italian Greek guy. He always had a big ass cigar in. He was always wearing like oversized, like, NFL jerseys, things like that. But he was as old school as you could get. He kind of looked like probably a 70s or 80s wrestling promoter, which you would think from the territory days, one of those carny types. But you're right. So especially on, the big weekends. So you'd have Saturday and Sunday, Leo'd get up, make his rounds, and he would stop at, where do you think? The bars, the local bars. So I had my home base of Babe's Cafe, so I knew whatever games I wanted to get. If I wanted to get his betting sheets, get up there early. If I wanted to get the exchange with him, you could always call him or one of his agents to exchange something. But you're right. There was not all of these prop bets. Hell, I remember betting. I didn't really realize, the plus or minuses for so many years, because on his sheets it was just your over under, or you had over unders, and you're just like a point spread. So you didn't have the plus or minuses. You had Cincinnati plus 6.5 over Washington.
Yeah.
So you parlay them that way, and you had over-unders, but it was so simplistic, and you get those for Saturday and Sunday. And if you were still of his upper clientele, you got into it where he'd really trust you, then he'd let you start doing some other things long-term, running out for baseball or for basketball.
Yeah, dude. I was learning off of newspapers and then calling, their bookie, who was also a very good family friend, and he would give the numbers, and then they'd sit back and talk about the games, be on speakerphone for hours before the games, and just going back and forth and all the things in the games they liked, and where the money was, and who the squares were going to be on, and all that stuff.
I remember one time there was at one point, and it's got to be like early 2000s, right around when the Patriots, so right around 9/11, when the Patriots really started their run. Like, Leo couldn't even use a telephone at his house, so and we still had payphones in the bars. So he would have a network of bars where you could call during the day to find out where he was at. Call on the payphone, because the local authorities had his phone tapped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were tracking him. That's how big he was. He was getting into it. I remember when we were reorganizing the bar, remodeling the bar, and we pulled out some coolers. And this is going to be in that early 2000 range. We found betting slips that had fallen behind the low boy cooler that were from like the 70s, like late 70s. early 80s.
That's awesome.
I just realized I still got the Hamin music on. I could have left that on there, a little ambiance
Was
music.
it playing? It was
Yeah.
playing the whole time we were talking?
Yeah,
I couldn't hear it. I
I
didn't
just
hear a
figured.
word.
So I was putting over on the Bottom Line Sports Talk. We get into all those numbers, but we do carry big headlines. And I think coming out of this past weekend in sports, and we touched a little bit on our pre-show for Thursday as we get ready for each and every weekend. Two big headlines here that I want to talk to you about, Hartland. One, touch base on here that we have been hitting on just a little bit each and every week because of the way the brand has boosted itself, the attention, and really just the interest in the business side of it. The WNBA playoffs started this past weekend. Started yesterday. They had a full slate. Last Thursday, we were having, me, you, and JB were having, I would say an argument, but a lively debate about what it means to be an MVP when it comes to these professional sports leagues. You and JB were hard stuck on it's about those numbers. It's about that on-field performance. For me, where I wanted more metrics. I wanted how much do you impact the overall brand? So one of the big talking points there was I was throwing out pro Caitlin Clark, that she is the most important person, that should be the MVP for the WNBA. You guys went with Aja Wilson, which her stats are simply incredible. She's the leader of the best team. But I want to hit you with this. Of the 4 first games yesterday, 3 of them on ESPN. Guess which one was on open air television that got the ABC spot? It wasn't the number 1 seed, not the number 2, not the number 3, I guess it would have been the 3 seed, but the number 6 seed, Caitlin Clark and the Fever. That was the main event. That's what brought the eyes to the show.
Brother, if you weren't on the Steelers or the Chargers yesterday afternoon, you didn't exist in my world. That was all that mattered at 1:00 for me. I like those other games I had action on, but it didn't even matter. I had big action on the Steelers. I told you that going into the show. It was just the Steelers were the spot for me, and the biggest spot I liked all season already. And I unloaded and I was ready to go. And there was WNBA on. I had no idea. I'd guess Caitlin Clark though. Whatever. Steelers. Let's go. Terrible towels.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. And I'm waiting on some numbers here. I've been hitting the refresh to see if we can get those as we're recording here. Where do you figure the WNBA, the phenom that is Caitlin Clark? What do you think she is? We've seen time after time that they are shattering records there, especially for ratings and viewership. But how do you think she's going to hang, and the WNBA is going to hang with that open air slot right there against the change in games Sunday afternoon? I mean, you got those 1:00 games winding down. We had some close ones there, and you got the big 4:00 kickoffs. So it'd be interesting. What are you expecting that they'll get? I know Jargo, he said
nobody's turning off football for the
like,
WNBA, brother.
Like Jargo was thinking $3 million, but even a low end, the NFL. I mean, even the weaker games are pulling like $15 million.
Yeah, dude, I don't think anybody's turning an NFL game off for a WNBA game, man. Have you sat through in a WNBA game yet, Rick?
Yeah,
I know you typed the
I watched yesterday. I watched it yesterday.
Dude, layups, and they're missing them, and it's just like wide open shots, and it's hard to watch. Or do you want to go watch any? Dude, I'll watch the Panthers and the Raiders, all day over that, man. It's not, dude, it's just, nothing beats football, bro. Nothing. And nothing's going to take away from football's audience. I don't know what audience you're picking up and who that audience is that's not watching football. It's watching that, but I'd imagine they are also childless.
Well,
they have
I would think
cats.
And
they like wine.
If you have young kids, if they're interested, you're trying to turn them on to something new in sports, the new phenom, especially if you have girls, like you have girls in the house, you can show them strong female.
Dude, I know there's so many chicks my age that are actually like into sports because their dads were into sports, and it's like they're into football. Like they don't watch the WNBA. The chicks I know that like sports don't even watch the WNBA. So it's like that
one of
tells
those
you
big arguments of like if women don't want to feel so empowered about this thing, like why aren't the women supporting this
they
league?
don't watch.
Because we're looking at the demographics. I want to throw this up here from Space Manual because it plays that little hashtag RBV eats out. He's making the comparison, I guess, there with the women's sports WNBA to other sports. Do actually like chicken wings instead of drumsticks. When you drink and eat at a pub or a bar, they always have wings. But at home, you get the big old drumsticks. He's going with the substance there. That's the only thing man. Like, why can't we get the big drumsticks out of the wing joint, man? Just pay for that extra substance, baby, and go for it. So he's been asking if there's still a lingerie football league. Yes, there is. It's just called. They just renamed it the Legends League. It's kind of similar to wrestling, where they'll tell you today there was the women's evolution, and it's all about their talent. But so many, they're getting rid of the bra and panty matches and the pillow fights, but somehow their outfits get skimpier today. So they're actually more revealing than anything we saw back in the Attitude Era in their ring gear. But that same mindset. But
I know a chick that played for the lingerie team in Orlando. Yeah. She's a mom now, so I'm not gonna put her name out there. But yeah, she played for. Orlando.
Man, I was gonna get some photos up here, man. Let's check her out.
Yeah. Here. No, I'm not gonna put her on Front Street like that. But yeah, but she was like really into the sport aspect of it. I mean, she also did it with her jubblies out, but like she was into it. You know what I mean? Like she was all about it. Camille Brickhouse was in the lingerie football league too.
Yeah,
that chick Camille.
Yep. Now, since you knew her, did she ever share what the insight was, like what the recruitment process was for that? Was it similar to like what we heard back in the Attitude Era days? Or past that when Johnny took over. But so was it an open call, or did they seek some of those people out? Did they go look at the model magazines, or did they go to colleges and try to get?
She was in Orlando
or something like that.
She was in Orlando, and she had she was in that like UCF sorority scene, and she went out for it. I guess they had like some sort of flag football thing already there on campus or club or something that she'd already played flag football.
In Murals, baby.
Yeah, so it was like, from what I knew about it when we asked, was that she had to go and try out for it. So they had these chicks out there in their, tight gym outfits running fly routes.
Oh, very nice, man. That's interesting. So we got to get some footage of that, man. That's maybe the next podcast I want to do, a Legends Lingerie Football League. But one thing I thought, we talk about how Caitlin Clark, and people are wondering what Hartnett's doing here. He's dog sitting here, so he's making sure they're not just tearing up the house while he's on the record here with us. But we talk about the impact that Caitlin Clark has had on this league. Absolutely, they didn't play too well yesterday. Went down pretty hard in defeat. It's going to be interesting. I look at the ratings because it's going to be interesting to see, in all likelihood, when the Fever get eliminated this round, to see how much drop-off interest and even mention the WNBA gets as they get closer to their finals. But this kind of popped me, this little stat here. So last year, you could buy tickets to the entire WNBA finals, all the games, for $131. The cheapest seat just for yesterday's game one, round one, for the Fever game was $133. I mean, that's a big jump in a year's time in interest just around one player there.
I mean, with the Colts at home too on a Sunday, more power to them.
Well, they're on the road, so yeah, they're not at home there. They're on the road. They are the road team. So
they were playing in a Soldier Field. I thought they were in Indy.
Who?
I don't know. I didn't have action on that game. I didn't watch.
Fever.
They're on the road. The Fever.
Yes.
Who gives a fuck?
Oh, come on, man.
Talk about the NFL.
You sexist son of a bitch. All right, well, let's talk a little NFL.
You keep going back to this WNBA stuff, bro. I'm gonna start asking questions, RBV.
Well, hey, I'm trying to get on the payroll over there, you son of a bitch. I'm working a gimmick. I'm working
Go
an
for
angle,
it.
and you're not helping me out at all.
Oh, well, give me the
But
Iggy
yes,
next time. I'll lean into it.
yes, a big day in the NFL, man. And you want to talk about over the top characters, uh, crazy, absolutely crazy storytelling. Man, the NFL is giving it to you. But I want to start off. I want to ask you this: is we've got the HMG, our pigskin pick'em, and I mean it's like everyone's struggling a little bit across the board. I can't even imagine how those King of the Hill leagues are doing out there. You know, where you get to pick one team, you pick them once, and then if you survive, you move on to Survivor leagues.
Yeah, I got one going.
Well, hold on. I would just the very basics of it. Are we still experience a league wide kind of hangover from this big change that we've had in preseason training camp restructuring to starting the year? I mean, it seems like so many of these teams, especially the favorites that maybe went up there and just bolstered their roster or whatever, they're so lost early on. They're struggling to find their way. We're especially getting hit by injuries. And hell, just at what that Niners and Rams game, it's like, who the hell are these people? They get some of these from that lingerie football league we're talking about. They were just riddled with injury.
So if you've heard the talking heads probably on ESPN, they keep going off about the two high safeties, and Mel Kiper hates it. And, you know, I think Aaron Rodgers made a joke about it, but it's become a league-wide trend where now two high safeties is a lot more prevalent, and that's affected the pass game throughout the league. So if you go and you look, everybody's pass numbers are down. The only passer in the league with a 300-yard game and 3 passing touchdowns, do you know who it is?
Well, hold on a minute here. Let me think here. Let me think.
300 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Only one guy's done it this year.
Could it be that guy right in the middle right there?
Yeah, it's that
could
guy.
It be that
Andy
guy.
Dalton.
The Red Rifle, Rocket. Andy Dalton, baby. Absolutely. Came to fame here in the pros right here at Cincinnati. So I've always got my eye on him, man. There's a sweet spot in my heart for the old Red Rifle there.
Yeah, so you would think Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, one of these big-name quarterbacks that's, taking the league over by storm the last few years, but everybody's passing numbers are down. A lot of passers are having a hard time even hitting the 200-yard mark, where like 300 yards was like, pretty much a given anytime these guys were stepping on the field a couple of years ago. So it's teams are adjusting, and you see teams like the Chargers going out there, Jim Harbaugh, they are running the ball. Like, that's all they're doing. Just handing it off, run. It's different league, different tempo, different style. League will make adjustments. Thing will change. The numbers will come back. Things will even out. Like these teams that are having a hard time now, they're gonna adjust. That's why you got to pay attention to trends and stuff too. Like 0-2 teams that start off 0-2 that really shouldn't be 0-2, and you can catch a good number on them going into week 3. Like that happened on a few teams. A lot of that stuff, you got to pay attention to the trends and just remember that your evaluation probably from preseason, depending on injuries, is probably accurate, and you got to give it time to adjust from the small sample size to a larger sample size. So if you really think a team is a good team and they're having trouble hitting that number early in the year, they're going to use that as a psychological ploy on the square player as we go forward in the year. You're going to look at a team that struggled to cover the spread right now. That's because any team that's basically laid, I think, over 5.5 points at this point has been it's 13-0 against the spread or something ridiculous. It's unbelievable. And then I think even straight up, they're winning at a crazy rate. It happened a bunch of times this weekend. It happened a bunch of times last weekend. So a trend like that, it's like when you keep seeing red pop up on a roulette table. You know what I mean? Yeah, you want to stay hot and keep hitting red, but eventually those blacks are going to come around, you know what I mean? And it's going to hit black or it's going to hit green, and those are going to pay out. So you just got to be aware and know that these trends, no trend is 100%, you know what I mean? There's always going to be regression to the trend, and you just got to pay attention and then look at these numbers, because everybody's going to know these stats going into week 4, week 5. They're going to know that these dogs have been hitting. So they're going to be looking to play these dogs. Everybody that's going to see a 6.5, 5.5, like tonight, Bengals are laying a big number. Everybody that sees that stat, they're not going to lay the number with the Bengals tonight. They're going to be like, 7.5 points. This is a trend. It's hit for, bro. Bengals are going to win by so many points tonight. and they're an 0-2 team that's set for positive regression, where they're going to bounce back and you're going to see Joe Burrow go out there and absolutely light up the Commanders, and 7 points going to look like nothing in the morning. But then you also got a game tonight. I haven't played it yet, but that 5.5 is right on the line with Jacksonville and the Bills. I feel like they're tempting these people just to take Jacksonville because of those trends and those things and the 5.5. I haven't done it yet, but I'm fairly certain I'm laying the 5.5 with the Bills. So
there you go. Well, Tony Khan is heartbroken out there right now. He wants everybody to show a little support. Get behind the Jaguars. Now just let's take away a little bit of the betting aspect of this thing, because as I said, right now so many teams trying to find an identity to see what's going to work this year, the strategies in the league itself. But even fans themselves, I mean, it's just, okay, we were looking at these as locks and favorites to already be a standout here. They are struggling. Which of the teams do you see that some people might be panicked about? As I look here, the Browns that had such a great run into the playoffs last year, losing to the freaking Giants. Devastating there. The Bears, who had high hopes here, they're at 1-2. The Texans, who are at 2-1, but absolutely getting run into the ground yesterday by those 3-0 Vikings, which is surprising to many. The
Sam
Eagles,
Darnold MVP.
How about the Pittsburgh Steelers at 3-0, who were supposed to be the absolute unquestioned bottom dwellers of the AFC North. The lowly Broncos beating up on the Buccaneers. And the Panthers, again, with Andy Dalton and that incredible performance going on the road. The Panthers, so many people expected them to, I think their over-under was like 1.5 wins for the season.
Yeah, and if Bryce Young was quarterback, I'd take that under all day. Like, it's a significant difference with that team with a capable quarterback. And they invested a lot of money in that offensive line, and that really wasn't the issue. I think it was just it's just an experience thing more than, this guy's arm he's able to snap it and get it, throw the deep ball. It's like, dude, as long as you can read the defense, as long as you know where to put the ball and where the receiver is going to be and know how to lead the pass, like that stuff, it takes a while to learn, man. Like even look at guys like Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield washed out of there too, out of Carolina. Sometimes it's a system. Sometimes it's just a bad organization to where they don't have anything together, because clearly those two guys.
Hey, don't be talking about bad organizations. Arguably, really one of the worst in the existence of the league right here in Cincinnati here. But
yeah, but who's graded the worst? Who's graded the like? Yeah,
I'll say if we had, all right. So we're talking in there.
I know the answer to the question.
The franchise existence. Who's graded the worst?
Mm-hmm. Who do you think, like among the players and the families, when they do the survey, who do you think's gotten like the worst grade?
Oh man, overall, I mean, when it comes to the years, potentially the Bengals. I'm trying to think. I guess there's so many different parameters that we'd have to consider. Maybe Jacksonville. I haven't heard too much out of Jacksonville. I do remember the story last year with that they couldn't even pay the cable bill in the stadium. So yeah, so it's Jacksonville is voted the worst.
Yeah, apparently it's been an issue for a few years, and that's they send out a survey to the players and the families about like the treatment in each city, and
well, I have seen it there when they ask the players about how the perks are. How's the weight room? How are even down to your catering. All those sorts of things. Your interaction with your management. I can imagine that there, Jacksonville. I'm trying to think of some others that I've always heard that there might have been some issues in Tampa, but they have produced for their fans things there. At least they've gone to some Super Bowls, so they've had.
Stadium's pretty nice. I mean, Raymond James. Inside, I thought it was nice. Training room and everything was nice. It was.
Yeah, getting a jab, and we're not even talking about wrestling yet. We're already getting jabs in on TK in the Khan family.
I'm just providing information that I have absorbed over the 50 years of watching sports, man. That's an interesting one that I always remember. It's like, oh wow, oh, they
Well,
say that.
Well, outside of upset city that we've seen, and trying to figure out from one week to another, who are the contenders, who are the pretenders in this thing. I think even more so, the growing tension amongst the NFL, the football fanatics that we see on this pro level is the heavy amount of flags. And even watching the game last night, the Sunday night game, it was almost like every pass completion, a play over even just 20, 25 yards, there's a yellow flag. There's something going on there. And then, of course, we get the big mishap where we didn't see a flag that helped out the Chiefs. Is there I think I can provide one, but from your perspective there, Hart, what is the logic? Why are we seeing this increase in those yellow birdies popping out?
The illegal formation stuff, where they changed a few things on that. Like, I know that's been.
Oh, I remember that the first game of the year, the Ravens, man. It took them like 2.5 quarters to figure that out. That new lineup where you're allowed into that neutral zone. But I mean, it was clearly showing there where they were lining up in that secondary. But there is, and it's. And I believe on the broadcast they do a pretty good job of trying to explain and trying to rationalize to the fans why things are happening. It must be so much more frustrating inside the stadium where you're not having that expert, that analyst, that guy that's been there breaking it down. I was saying, I was putting over the networks for having those actual officials on the staff now that they can go to help try to explain things to people. And once they usually talk,
Dean Blandino's not even a referee. That guy's a fucking comedian. Like, that guy's not even a referee. They keep bringing him up on Fox. I get bothered by that.
I haven't watched him on that. I was really going to put over there.
Well, he's from the XFL. They had him on there too because they couldn't find anybody to do that, and he just wanted to do it cheap. But the guy's a fucking comedian. He's not even a referee, so I won't. I never liked Mike Pereira
of the Fox production anyway. I try to avoid those games unless it's absolutely something I have to watch. But I do really like.
a hack, bro.
I like the NBC, the Peacock, how they do theirs. But I mean, it's draining on the fans, and then obviously you get and I think it's because they are more high profile. We have them in more primetime games. They're getting the national attention because they are the standouts. They are the Rolls Royce of the NFL. It is Kansas City. So are the fans right in I'm just going to say this, man, especially because a bit of the rivalry, the chase that you're getting from the Jungle Cats here, the Bengals trying to claim that top spot, where we did knock them off a couple of years ago, and then so close so many times just last week, going down in a questionable defeat again. Are the fans right in their outrage towards the Kansas City Chiefs and the perceived favoritism that they are getting?
Yeah, they're right. I mean, it's just magnified to a whole nother level because it's
because of where they are, because we see them so much more than anybody else. If it's the primetime game, if it's just the spotlight thing, if we're going to, like you mentioned, like ESPN, the talking head shows, that's who we're focusing on.
Yeah, it's under a big spotlight, so obviously it gets more scrutiny. But it's so consistent at this point. If you weren't able to call it a trend, like, you're either in on it or like you're blind. Like, it's happening so many times. Like, it's not a coincidence anymore at this point. I would say it's probably more of a trend at this point than a coincidence. But like, bad calls happen every game, but like the ones that happen for the Chiefs at the end of the games, dude, if you want to be rich, just take Chiefs money line anytime they're down live. Yeah, just set it, forget it.
Well, hey, if they are writing the storylines, if the fix is in, I do want to give credit, props to hashtag NFL for this one last night, because, and I usually stay off of it because you can look at some things, going back to last week, I was out and about with a lot of people. We were in a packed house when Kansas City beat Cincinnati, and again, it was just beyond heart-wrenching. It was like that that scene in Dumb and Dumber, where he just punches straight through that dude's chest, pulls his beating heart out, and puts it in that doggy bag. I mean, that was like the simultaneous across the room, a couple hundred people just stopped. It was like it was just complete silence. They were devastated. And I immediately go back. I look over to my cousin. And I say, you know what? I told you in the first quarter, when a team cannot go under center on the 3-yard line and pound the ball into the end zone, you don't deserve to win football games. So I try to stay off of the referees as much as I can. And I look throughout the game. Well, this could have gone this way. Okay, you had a chance here to make up for that. But last night, 4 minutes, 44 seconds to go, they stole this one. They absolutely stole this from the Atlanta Falcons. You're going to tell me this is not pass interference?
You're not playing the ball there.
What was it, like hug your neighbor day? Was that what it was in Atlanta in the hot landing last night?
And if you got Chris Collinsworth calling it out against the Kansas City Chiefs, there's an issue. But yeah, it was blatant at that point.
My boy,
and I would have put him on the 1-yard line.
Hey, my boy Collinsworth getting all that heat, but you're right. It took a minute. I said, are they going to acknowledge this? I mean, are they going to talk about this? Are they just going to no-sell this thing? And he talked about, he doesn't care. He already just signed that new deal. He's covered till 2030. So he's got 6 more years. He can go ahead and mouth off at this point. But this happens in the game, so you don't even have an automatic booth review. So they get away with it. But again, Atlanta had a chance to get the ball back. They had 2 questions.
They should have scored a touchdown there. From
I understand.
And then the game would have been over. They could have just kneed on it, and then
right.
The game's over if the game's called right. But it's also what's his name? God, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Raheem Morris, the head coach for the Falcons. Bro, get it together, man. Like, it was the coaching difference between Andy Reid and dude, that guy, he was stressing with his timeouts. He didn't know how to use his timeouts at the end of the game and didn't know how to play the clock. And dude, they were in that game and they probably shouldn't have been, but they should have won. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, there's no way that they lose that game if that call is made the proper way. And obviously there's a different game plan for Kansas City when they get the ball, but seeing the way they were just unable to move the ball right there, like, I don't know, man. And they would have needed a touch. I don't know. It's a game of ifs and buts, but like you got to acknowledge it at this point that the Chiefs get some crazy calls. The Chiefs get, bro, crazy. I've never seen a call go against them, like where it's like, oh, that just cost them the game. I don't miss their games, and it never happens to them. Even the game they lost to the Raiders last year, like, they didn't lose that one because of the calls, bro.
But they threw the biggest fit, when they're usually on the other side of it. But so when we talk about the fans' rage inside. So, I mean, this is something that we should be used to. I mean, it's just basic human. See, the dogs, man, they're getting all worked up on this. Ron Mexico's not there running any some dog fights, is he? All right, Hartnett's got to go check on the pups there. But again, I was talking about the reasoning, trying to rationalize the rage from the fans. So for you guys joining us in the chat, the Hamin Army, if you've got something that is a huge payday for you, that is a big investment for you, a nice car, something, your house, bling, whatever the case might be, you're going to take care of that. You're going to protect that at all costs. You don't want that looking bad. You want the shine on that.
Yeah. You protect your investments, right? But it's
I just saw somebody over here, might have been Kenny P talking, he kind of gave up on sports after the passing of Kobe. The same with Jordan and Kobe, they were getting protected because the league realized what they had to do. I mean, that was the diamond. Yeah, that was the Rolls Royce. That was what you rolled out there. That was your money maker. That's also why when you see these changes in these rules, that's why they're protecting these high-profile, highest-paid positions on the roster. That's why you can't touch a quarterback, because the investments are so heavy that you can't afford to have them be going down and losing them long-term when you lose that investment.
Yeah, that was like the big adjustment people needed to make a couple of years ago, right? When they started throwing flags every time you would come near touching the quarterback after he released the ball and roughing the passer. It was egregious at one point where it was like you couldn't even get past like. That was a sack.
You gave him a dirty look. You couldn't.
Yeah. You were getting real sacks, getting flags on them. So it's like there's always adjustments, like with the way that a lot of the flags have been coming early in the year. So hopefully it like kind of regresses to the mean. But dude, the Chiefs are beneficiaries of some very questionable officiating, is the way I guess I would put it.
I've been checking the Twitter here and all of the news outlets to see if we get any breaking news while we're recording. As you'd mentioned, surprised that Collinsworth took him to task on that last night. I wonder if we're going to get an official release from the league, as they do not every week, but sometimes they'll come out and say, "Hey, we had to go back and look at this thing. This probably should have been a call. We'll address this in meetings or behind closed doors."
Yeah, I mean that's the most they can do, right? They're not going to go change the fucking score of the game retroactively.
No.
So it's
I guess
just one of those things. It's hard when you got money on it, dude. Oh, my heart for anybody had Falcons money line. Falcons, what were they getting? 3? My heart goes out to you people. You got robbed. Plain simple.
The city, man, they should be hot down in the ATL still right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you said we are getting geared up here. We still got a little bit of time here in our record, but when we do wrap up, I'll be heading downtown somewhere in the area to meet some people for the game. Tremendous hype here. 2 big games tonight, which might not fare so well for this week's episode of Monday Night Raw when you had the NFL coming in and start. We talk about dominating those ratings. You got the Jags and the Bills, a big rivalry game at 7:30, and the Bengals. You were talking about how big that game is. They moved to 7.5 now. Last I looked, it was 6.5. Still a big spread for the NFL. But as I mentioned this past week on the Bottom Line Sports Talk podcast, that this is the biggest must-win game in Bengals history as we look at this thing with starting 0-2. If they go 0-3, statistics say you're pretty much shot for the season. But you look at how bad of a Commanders Washington team this is, and to further that, the Bengals rep this version of the Bengals reputation, really franchise wide, long reputation of just flopping in prime time. A lot on the Bengals tonight, but you're expecting them to take care of business.
Yeah, 6.5, 7, 7.5. Don't matter. You're going to blow them out. Multiple scores. It's going to be at least a 10-point win.
There we go. We're going with 2 scores. We're going 2 scores for 2 barks. So Bengals by 2 scores tonight. That'll be 10-14 or anywhere in between there. Hopefully, a little hoo-day action to Burrow and the boys get it
My
done.
nephew agrees.
Yes. Well, Hartnett, let's switch some gears here. As I've been getting back into the groove. I went like a month with me and Ben where we didn't talk any professional wrestling, really, or professional wrestling headlines. We were just talking life at Ravens joint and business and marketing and all that. But hey, there was some interesting stories that I saw from the world of professional wrestling. I guess the big one, and there's a few that I really picked out that I think that you have some great insight from. Your ventures into the world of professional wrestling and experiences that you've had. But the big talk right now, we'll go back to AEW, Tony Khan, especially with the big numbers that we saw from all the WWE TV deals. They're saying this again. We hear this though. Anytime now, we're going to get the official announcement for AEW's new television deal. Reportedly here what they have done with Warner Brothers Discovery, $171 million per year for 4 years, 3 years guaranteed, with a 4-year option that extended out or back out of the deal. And it's also in there, they're talking about that the HBO Max streaming will offer the AEW All Elite Wrestling pay-per-view distribution. Also into that, I've heard it's just not going to be exclusive to HBO, not exclusive to Max. They'll still have those other outlets. What did you think, Hartnett, when you heard these numbers? To me, this number, especially what we've seen from WWE, I wasn't expecting as much as WWE, but this is in my mind, pretty pathetic for the blockbuster that they've been promising.
I mean, when it comes to negotiating, you got to have leverage, right? So, I mean,
Yeah, where's but all right, so in the leverage, when you kind of as you shook your head there, what do you mean in the sense of AEW doesn't have the leverage from your perspective?
just the basic economics of supply and demand, right? Like you see their weekly TV numbers and what they're pulling inside these local arenas and in domestic market.
But
America,
for the TV number, so like
and their content library isn't big enough. You're talking about a WWE content library that's gone, it spans decades. They haven't even been around a decade yet, right? So it's like if you had a bigger content library and bigger
5
cool
years
content
plus the Ring of Honor.
The Ring of Honor, because like how many people, that was such a niche thing for like a DVD audience.
Right. It's something. I mean, you're really serving the inside of the bubble with the Ring of Honor library, unless you've got access to like use it for documentary stuff, like for like a Seth Rollins or a CM Punk or somebody like that.
Yeah, or like if they had The Rock, you know what I mean? Like, if Ring of Honor just had like The Rock's library, right? Like that would have some serious leverage to give you in negotiating, where you could go to somebody like a Peacock or whoever and say, hey, you're getting this live product, plus we're giving you X, Y, and Z. You got to give them something, you know what I mean? For them to just hand you over money just because you have an ability to fill a time slot. There's other people they can fill that time slot with too. So they're a business, they're trying to save money, they're trying to make ends meet. And the biggest thing for them is cutting costs at all times. So they're never looking to really overpay for a product unless they have a reason to believe that product is going to bring back a return that's significantly going to, pass what they're paying for the product, right? So otherwise you're an idiot. You're a bad investor, you're a bad businessman, and you won't be around in the corporate environment long.
It sounds like Warner Discovery, that they had actually, and it has been rumored for a while, we're starting to hear a lot more people talk about this, that they had taken percentage of that company at 30%, and they're going to increase their equity inside of AEW as well. So, they're getting a little bit more back on this thing. My two biggest takeaways when I look at that 171 mil is, does that even cover a year of salary for AEW? So so that means the rest of this is all coming out of TK's pocket, because, as you said, those other avenues that you look to generate profits at Gates, those are dwindling to almost nothing. And when you look at their media marketing, their merchandise is almost non-existent. Who was
their video game, right? And the all the digital creation content, like that didn't go very well, right? So they have to sell out arenas, and they're not selling out arenas. And the television they're producing is, they have to ride the Big Bang Theory.
Even here, Canadian Spaceman bringing up if he was Warner Brothers Discovery in this deal about crossover to try to get the AEW wrestlers to be on every game, every talk show that they can. To me, this has been that area there has been one of the major missed opportunities from AEW, that they think that Tony Khan and his company think that pro wrestling is actually over, that people are just going to come to it. You got to get out there and use that exposure to introduce your product to these potential new audiences. We've just went 5 years where they shared network coverage with the NBA. And very little. I think there was maybe in the beginning, Jericho was doing some crossover. You had the NHL as well. You saw none of that. You had some amazing looking athletes, like a Jay Cargill comes to mind, larger than life, that you could have had out there on an NBA floor. Big Show, whoever. And I remember when they sent Jericho out there, and he's trying to do the set with the NBA, and he comes up like to these guys' waist. But they missed all this opportunity because they think they're over. They think they're a draw. They think that they're the spectacle. Going back to the NFL talk, I don't know if you saw this yesterday. You were talking about watching the game with the Colts and the Bears. Did you see the Rollins spot where they
where he got tossed over the
that was absolutely great. The place went crazy with something like that.
T.Y. Hilton, baby.
You go back to the NFL draft. AEW thinks that they're doing cross promotion with NFL Films by having Tony sitting there in the war room on draft day with a neck brace on. Meanwhile, in most of the talking heads, everybody that's covering it, the fans that are watching it are now laughing at pro wrestling instead of enjoying what the product should be. On the other hand, the WWE, they're there on draft day with their own set as the players are coming off the stage. They got the WD branding all there behind it, and they are giving every first round pick an NFL title of their team. You tell me who looks better in the eyes of the entertainment world, the sports world right there is an actual company you want to do business with and your self-promotion. WWE continues to blow them away.
Yeah, I mean, that's the TKO Endeavor Group, and their flywheel, brother. That's Fanatics, and that's like they know what they're doing, man. They know how to synchronize all of their products and get the maximum out of every single one of them by using the generating, buzz off of whatever they got that's hot, and if they got something that's hot, they try to use it to make their other products hot. And it's not a bad thing to do. It's pretty wise.
I don't know. It's one of the things that in pro wrestling, because I enjoy for the business aspect of it. It frustrates me to no end there, but hopefully, hey, we don't know the exacts yet because, and it's still in my mind.
They know better than us, RBV. What do we know, right? What the hell do I know?
When it comes to the TV deal, in my mind, there still is no TV deal until they officially announce everything here. So, all the speculation, but it does.
At the end of the day, how many shows get canceled? Doing a million, you know what I mean? Every week. 1 million viewers, they get canceled. 1.2 or whatever, they get canceled. Television's not like, it's not even really a big
so
thing.
That is one of the the arguments there that so many of the fans, the pro AEW types, will make. I mean, they do hold a steady number for TNT TBS. Typically, they'll be in the top 5 to 10 for their time slots there. So there is that, but again, you got to weigh those. Can we get a better, a big bang for our buck by just running Big Bang reruns in that?
But I mean, dude, 7 million people were watching The Undertaker powerbomb Stevie Richards. I don't know, where we went wrong, but something happened, right? You're talking about moving a decimal point from 6-7 million to 600,000-700,000 is a big deal, man. And it's I'm not saying, I don't know what they're doing, but at some point you got to acknowledge what you're doing ain't working, right?
To me, we were just talking. We opened up talking about potential ratings for the WNBA, and I think that's why it's so fascinating to me is because of the potential that they have as a league. And to me, it's fair to make those comparisons to the NFL because they are doing live must-see television better than anyone else in the world right now. They have made the NFL's beyond a game. And when we talk about all the flags, it is a spectacle. And I've been talking about this for a while here on the Hamin Media Group, or anyone that, even when I just go out to the local pub and this guy shut his radio voice up. He doesn't have a microphone. He's not on air. Tell him to shut the hell up over there. But I might be generous here. 85% of the NFL fans have zero clue what is going on inside of those games. They are out there for food, for drink, for camaraderie, because it is a group gathering. It is a social, spectacular spectacle that they have to be a part of. And the NFL has groomed that perfectly. You can see it in just watching the games and all their advertising, the way they move, who they affiliate with, who do you see doing the voiceovers, the in the stands. They know that connection.
Yeah, and every franchise has what? Every franchise has what? What's the common theme? What does every franchise have, RBV? Besides money, yeah. But what does every franchise have?
Not cheerleaders.
Who cares about cheerleaders, dude? Nobody goes to the games for cheerleaders, even though they're hot.
You know what? Who was I watching?
You just stay on the internet. You just staying creeping on the internet, dude. It's 2024. You don't need to go.
Last week I was watching UCLA. I was going to turn off that game, but man, they had me hooked. They kept going to that sideline, and I was hooked. I kept watching them, that dance squad.
Dude, the cameramen are the biggest curves in the world.
I just think I can just keep going a long list of what you're talking about and what everybody has. So what's the exact answer? What am I supposed to hit you with?
Stars. They all got stars, bro. Every team has a star, right? And every team is able to market the star. Every team you can look at has somebody that they can pull and moves units, right? They move numbers. Whether it's a jersey, whether it's tickets, whether it's whatever, like they all have a star. Every team has a star, at least one. Some of them have two, right? Like the Chiefs got Kelsey and Mahomes, right? Like some of them, the teams that have stars, right? It's easy to tell a story with a star and another star. When you don't have stars, like you can tell stories, but nobody gives a fuck.
This is great too, because I wasn't ready to stop, but I thought we'd be short on time. This plays in perfectly, and with wrestling, where AEW, do they really have any stars right now?
No.
On a main level.
No, but you know what's crazy is like, so here's the thing, like people have probably heard this before. If not, like it's been said before. I'm not any genius. I'm not like, oh, I got the inside track. But Vince McMahon would not allow Shane to buy the UFC, and they wouldn't allow the purchase of a UFC deal to go through when the UFC was struggling. SEG was looking to sell it.
Yeah, because he was big on that, wasn't he? I mean, Shane was real aggressively trying to push his pops on that.
Do you know what Vince's answer was? Because they can't control the outcome. They can't create stars.
Keyword, what you said there, they can't control an outcome.
Right? So, but that's the key with pro wrestling. You can control the outcomes. The facts that you don't have stars, the only person you can blame is in the mirror. Like, you should be able to construct, and you hear Ben talk about it all the time, and he gives lectures on here that you would probably have to pay a professor for sometimes in like the psychology of, OVW and the things he's learned from all these worlds. But it's 100% true that like you need the star to tell these stories. And if you don't have a star, people aren't invested. They're not going to care. But when you have a star and you have these people, like it's the simple stories you got to tell. They don't need to be all, crazy, convoluted.
The stars, that just doesn't mean, the big, the stat man, all this. And they all have different personalities that they tell us these stories with these stars. So they become the characters that we're used to in wrestling.
The big thing is, you hear Ben talk about it all the time, is like, what's hot right now, right? Like, what's hot? Like, they're not doing a good enough job, like, associating their characters with something else that's going on in the world where people can live vicariously through them for a conflict resolution, all right? Because that's, at the end of the day, what this whole thing psychologically is supposed to be. It's conflict resolution, all right? So you need problem A and B, figuring it out between whichever side's the heel, babyface. They don't even do that anymore. They can't even tell a story with that. Like, I turn on TV, I can't even tell who the good guy, the bad guy is half the time. But there is no like continuity with these things, to the point of you don't know who's good, who's bad. You don't know what kind of story is being told. And it's like, you have the ability to control all these things, and you're not attaching yourself to some of these mainstream, like, big topics, whether they're political or whether it's, something that's going on in sports. Like, how doesn't Tony Khan have like some sort of like run-in deal with his guys in the NFL or his guys in the Jaguars? Like, how hasn't he got like some sort of like fix in where he's getting the rub?
I was thinking about this
the proper way.
Just something that would be really, really cool for the Jaguars, and then to get involved on the road, because I did see their last home game. It was last week that they had that Sammy Guevara was there defending whatever title he has in Ring of Honor against some luchador. So they had that going on at the game. So you do have that aspect. And regularly we do see photos popping up of AEW talents at the Jaguar games. Would it be kind of cool if you had a traveling all elite wrestling NFL champion, and no matter where the Jaguars were, they went there and put on a match for that crowd? So today they're up in Buffalo, right? The Buffalo Bills fans would love that. You imagine setting up maybe a smaller ring or whatever the case might be. Get a little stage area there where the Buffalo Bills have their main tailgate. Those animals would absolutely love that. They're already going through tables up there anyway. But and you have that travel around, and you have one of your wrestlers, maybe not a Sabre Guevara, maybe someone that looks like a professional wrestler, but just that aspect to play into that thing and have the league advertise you a little bit more.
Even something as simple as like you got Daniel Bryan there, right? Like how is he not tapping back into the whole yes movement thing, right? Like that was in every arena, every major sports game, everybody hitting it with the, you know, he bit off Diego Sanchez, but whatever, bro, it was over, you know? And like that was a star move. Like what he's doing right now, he's Daniel Bryan. Like, bro, he could be wrestling the greatest matches of all fucking time. 6, 7, 8 stars. He is nowhere near the same star now that he was in WWE at the peak of like WrestleMania.
Yeah, but there's still there's that nostalgia feel, and people know him. They're comfortable with him.
Yeah,
he's that star you're talking about there, where we know his story. He's relatable to us.
Yeah, but
he's got
can you tell the story with him though, right? Like you don't have other stars to link up with him, but like that's a guy that you could, that's a star, right? Like even though he's not at his peak right now, he's probably the biggest star I would argue that they have on their roster. And I don't know, it's not utilized.
Yeah, all right. So it doesn't seem that we're just taking shots and picking on AEW. I do want to ask you this as well. Does WWE, do they really have any true individual stars, or is it just
Logan Paul?
They become so dominant with those call letters WWE?
No, Logan Paul's a star, dude. Like I don't think he's a star.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
He's undoubtedly like that guy's a star, and you can use him in a way where, dude, the wrestling, like, he's picked it up and he does well because he's an athlete, but the wrestling is like 3rd or 4th on the list, bro. You know, his look and his star power, like those are as important, you know.
Got the vet in the house. Talk about star power. That's drawing power.
Now we're drawing.
Up. Yeah.
We got a star. Yeah, we got a star. So we're drawing now. You know, the vet's in the room. Show your respect, people. Give up your chair. Give it to the vet. Slide the hell on over.
So playing in, we're talking about stars. We're talking about relatable characters, comparisons from the entertainment world to sports and pro wrestling. I did see this one, and I don't know who's number 1 on this one, but this was interesting to me. Travis Kelce voted the NFL's 2nd most annoying player. So you talk about that character, though. But so he's annoying to some, and I'm sure there's a lot of time because of his valet, you know, his Miss Elizabeth, his Scary Sherry, you know, that you regularly get when she's in the venue. You're getting all those shots with Taylor Swift. So it's those stories, those relations, that crossover appeal that you've got, that just for one, just the Taylor Swift sightings, if Kansas City's at home in a primetime game, that's adding millions of viewers.
Yeah, and you saw, like, it's not like it's a new thing either. You saw, what's his name, the fat comedian guy, got outed for it. He was with a hot chick. And everybody was like, oh, they're together. But then she outed him. And it was like, he paid for the PR. He didn't pay for the nookie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hold on. What's my name? Drewski. He got busted. The chick, I forget, super hot chick, whatever. But basically, their PR team paid this woman to give the appearance of a public image that they were dating. And it was very successful to the point of where people were telling this woman exactly what was going on in her life privately that really wasn't true. So then he got outed. It made him look kind of stupid. But I could even see, like, if you got all that money, right? Like, hook Sasha Banks up with some fucking, I don't know, the dude from fucking Top Gun or something, right?
How about if you want a tie in across her cousin, Snoop Dogg?
Somebody, right? Anything.
You know, like, you just said Snoop Dogg, who was the 90s gangster as gangster could be, being your talking head, your ambassador for the Olympics. Why didn't you pull some ties to have her go over there during the Olympic Games and do some spots on air with him with your gold, with your merch, whatever the case might be. Huge missed opportunity there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think if you put MJF with like one of these like Sydney Sweeney's or something like that, right? Like, and you paid the right amount of money it would take to get like a 6 or 8 month thing in the tabloids, or you go with Tony Storm or like Sasha Banks, whoever you're getting behind, and you put them to where they're going to have access to red carpet, like real fame. You know what I mean? Like you got to go outside the bubble of what these, you know, never touch a titty committee is like always going to watch, right? You got to tap into these people that aren't watching at the current moment, and they don't know who these people are because they're not stars. But put them on a red carpet, like they might not ever watch a match, you know, but they'll know who the person is. Oh, that's MJF. You know what I mean?
What do they call that? Your Q
that's
rating?
so-and-so. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I think when you're just recognized by something and they have some metrics for it. But we are getting our Q ratings up. We're getting the stars in there again. Colin Weissong. AEW wishes they could pull the NFL numbers. Everybody wishes they could pull the NFL numbers, but you know, it's about looking. I actually had this conversation with somebody here in a local indie scene about that, and I was talking about WWE production and just energy and vibe when you go to an event. And he was like, well, we can't get anywhere near that because of financials. I said, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I said, you need to look at it and what they're doing right and what can you sample. You know, it's not me. All he says, what is it? A good artist creator, a good artist creates a great one, samples it their own, makes it their own. So, I mean, what can we do on our own level? What are the things that interacting that we can make ourselves feel a little more big time to this little neighborhood we've got here in Cincinnati that will make them feel like they are the WWE universe? It's those sorts of things that they've got to look forward to.
Well, I mean, you look at somebody like Hulk Hogan, right? And his star power that's lasted over like how many generations now to where it's like been, 40 years since he slammed Andre the Giant?
80s, 90s. I mean, what was that, 87?
Right? But he never got over because he could do the fucking flips, or he could do the fucking, you know, the suicide dives and the topes and the lucha spots, right? He got over because he was a star. And then he was all over Hollywood because he was a star. He was on Thunder in Paradise because he's a star.
He got onto the cover of Sports Illustrated, you know.
And then you bring back Thunder in Paradise, baby. Bring it back. I miss it. I bet you the bet like Thunder in Paradise.
You're down, aren't you? You're down there in that area, man. Just get your own cigar.
Oh, it's right across St. Pete Beach. St. Pete Beach. That's a 3-hour drive right out here in my driveway.
3-hour drive.
3 hours.
You get that Thunder in Paradise boat. That 3-hour drive's down to like 15 minutes.
Oh,
buddy.
Dude, those things haul ass. You ever see them go?
Yeah, actually, when I lived up on Lake Erie, when I lived just outside of Cleveland, one of my clients, the Harper House Bar and Grill right there in Huron, Ohio, they were part of a big cigar run to close out the season. And like they would come from Put-in Bay, which for a regular boat was probably about a 45-minute ride away. And they would get over there, I'm not shitting you, within like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was insane what the cigar boats would do.
The only thing crazier than seeing them just like run from one end of the horizon to the other is watching one wipe out, dude. Those things are vicious when they go. It's crazy. That's carnage. Yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
Good times. Good times. Welcome to Florida.
Speaking of, you know, potential star power in AEW, or some potential star power leaving international star power, if you will, and possibly headed to WWE. We've heard that they signed, heard that they have not quite signed their deals, but the Lucha Bros will be Phoenix and Penta going to be making their way WWE bound. A few aspects on this one I want to ask you about, Hart. You know, a lot of fans right now, and Ben was talking, they were talking about this on the Friday locker room, him and MSG, about maybe where the best fit in WWE for the Lucha Bros is. Ben was saying straight to the main roster. MSG kind of countered with NXT for a few points. But I want to ask you on this. And a lot of people, you know, when we see people get signed, maybe if they're coming from Japan, they're coming from an AEW or one of the super indies like that, a lot of fans don't understand why. Like, this guy's so good here, this guy or girl is so good here, they're at the top of their game, they don't need development. you've worked for some of these companies, and you've seen the difference if it's a CC Dub, a TNA Impact. How important it to go through that transition at NXT to learn that different style that WWE presents, or to make sure that you're crisp enough to not go out there and fall flat when you get in front of those television cameras, and how you're supposed to work that different way.
I mean, you got to go kind of case by case, right? But those guys have a look and have a style that you could definitely drop onto the main roster right away. And I think you would obviously be making significantly less money off of them and their image and what you're going to be using them for in their merchandise, which would be their biggest, their biggest thing they can contribute to the company would be merchandise sales with their masks.
Especially the mask, or the fun T-shirts, the whole outfit.
And the action figures and those things, right? So you got to put them, it's about putting them in the right position to make the most out of those kind of transactions. So you look at somebody like Chris Jericho as a perfect example, right? Like if there was a feeder system for when he was coming through and he had all that lucha experience and WCW experience, and he came over, where they put him, like with The Rock, made him a star instantly and was able to, propel him to where he is today. But now, if he came over and you'd had to plug him into a NXT and then you just brought him out of there, I feel like it sours a lot of those products if that's where you have to go first. If it's somebody that's already ready for TV, I would deem them ready for TV, man. Even though some of the stuff they do is need to get like reined in and dialed down or whatnot. They can take them to Orlando and run them through some things and put them through things off television that can help them get acclimated to the situation that they're going to have to be dealing with on the road every week. But I don't see the benefit of sending them down there and using the momentum they're going to have off of signing it in a smaller market, as opposed to where they're not like Logan Paul level stars, but Logan Paul didn't need to go through NXT, right?
Well,
you don't want to wait. Like if you got a hot product and you got something that's going to move product, you don't want to waste time.
Well, a great, tremendous counterpoint here is you're talking about moving that product, the potential just inside of the merge. Cold-blooded, to bring it up a great point. You have somebody like Dragon Lee, the LWO, all these people that have been affiliated directly with the greatest mask mover of all time, and Rey Mysterio, and they've done nothing with that. So if we're talking about those big marketing misses here for the WWE brand, that's a huge one right there.
Yeah, Mystico, right? Kalisto, whatever his name was, that dude's over as fuck in Mexico City with his mask and stuff forever, like the last 20 years, right? But it didn't go over the way they thought it would in WWE. But once again, where did they put him? What was the spot, right? You can make a guy a star. It goes back to the Vince McMahon conversation of he liked to do what he was doing and didn't see a need to buy in the UFC because he can control the outcome to create stars. And if you can control the outcome, you can create the star. He's 100% right. So if it's all in your, some are going to hit, some are going to miss. Not every idea is going to be perfect, but there needs to be a serious intention of putting these people in a spot where we're going to maximize the ability to move merchandise with them. We're going to maximize the ability to make these people stars.
In MSG, and I was in the chat with them, so MSG and I agreed with this on the Friday Locker Room. We're talking about that reach, that potential. With NXT moving to the CW, that's an open air network, and they have a major Hispanic audience with them because a lot of those households are lower income. People that are coming into the country here, they can't afford all the streaming or cable services, so they rely on open air. CW has a
RBV. They're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats.
Those are the Haitians, buddy. Those are the Haitians.
You said immigrants. Okay.
I said Hispanic households. Okay. I don't know what it is. I've been up to Springfield to a couple restaurants. I don't know what I'm eating, but I've always had a great meal up there. Okay. So maybe the CW gets you more exposure and you rotate these guys between brands.
I think that's still niche. I think big picture, those guys, you can get kids to wear those masks on Halloween, right? Like you can get, ultimately
I would be rolling out. I'd be rolling out. If I could get them on as soon as possible. You got October starting a week from today, next Tuesday, a little over a week. I'd be rolling out the full Phoenix and Penta Halloween gear day one.
Yeah,
order these now.
But the whole point is they're going to have to do something cool.
Sizes for Colin there. We were talking about the Dragon Lee or the others. It's because they were, say, just indie darlings, where the Lucha Bros are going to be main roster ready.
I think, man, I see the money in it. You know what I mean? Like,
I see what he's doing here. RBV's eating chili dogs. Yeah, hashtag RBV's out, pop of the day.
You're eating the cat. Eating the cat, RBV.
How about a chili dog right there, baby? Let's load it up with some cheese. Good old chili dog. There we go.
How about the cat? Eating the cat, RBV.
It's been a little while, but I'm always down for it, baby.
There you go. All right. But yeah, Lucha Bros, bro, like if they're put in the right position, handled the right way, which obviously TKO and WWE are going to have the best chance of maximizing, the potential out of those guys. It's going to come down to how they use them, bro. If they use them like the LWO and the rest of these guys, it's like it could go like over like a fart in church. You know what I mean? They got to put them in the right spot. They got to get them over.
I think that's going to be. I think that's the worry. That's the worry because when we're talking about the Hispanic Latino stars that have actually gotten over, I guess we count Damian Priest and his recent run, but what Rey Mysterio and Eddie were the last two. Pedro Morales back in the 70s. That really were getting over.
Look how look how Eddie was presented, right? At the point where he became a star. Completely different presentation than when he was just, going on Monday Night Nitro, full freaking singlet, you know what I mean? Long mullet, just here to do the moves, brother. Yeah. Like once he started committing to the character and they put him in positions that made him a star, Eddie Guerrero is a star, right? Like they created a star.
Hey, and you know what channel they were on when he became a star? CW, huge Hispanic household reach.
The UPN.
Yeah, that was all. The WB, the UPN, the CW, that was because they all had that huge reach into the Hispanic households.
But he was over with fucking white people too, bro. He was over with everybody. Eddie Guerrero was over his butt. But it was because they presented him like a star.
I think he was just over with everybody because of the George Lopez.
You know what I mean? Dude, that guy oozed charisma there when he had his run. And it's like he could take over a room. It's once again, he's a star. The way they had him beat Brock, star, right? Like that made him. Right place, the way they made it happen, like it's how you make a star, man. Like, but it's not anywhere near like executed to the way it should be right now, and it's kind of taken for granted to the point where you just think because it's on television, it's automatically going to put this person over as a household name. You got to give them a good clip, got to give them a good viral moment that's going to give them moments they're going to remember,
Well, it just goes back to the running theme that we've been talking about here is the characters, the personality, the being able to reach everybody, that they're relatable with these people and not the damn movesets.
Yeah, bro. Nobody like Stone Cold Steve Austin was so over when I was in high school, bro. Like, and nobody cared about the moveset, right? It was all about the attitude and the look and middle fingers and telling the boss and the man, to stick it where the sun don't shine. And that, like,
living the dream, beating up your boss, beating up, if you're in school, beating up the principal or your teacher or whoever is the man holding you down. Yeah,
but once again, he committed to the character, and he wasn't meant to be a star when he was stunning Steve Austin, right? Even though he's a great hand, great worker, stunning Steve, not a star. Stone Cold, star. right? So it's two different worlds, and it's all about presentation and the right matchups, uh, the right stage that you can build to present this person in the most effective light. Because literally, you've heard Bennett talk about it before. Every time you're producing these TV shows, every minute on television is so expensive, and it's such a big investment into you. And if you're not putting the work into, like, yeah, the moves are important, but like, you're gonna have to connect. You're gonna have to find a way to tell a story. You're gonna have to find a way to make sure these people remember you, make sure they have a reason to turn back in next time, or tell somebody about you, or repost your clip or something, and it's like, yeah, moves are great, but like, characters are so much better. It's not even close.
Absolutely. Well, let's get on the home stretch here, Hart. Hey, I saw this story, immediately had the screenshot this thing immediately. Oh, look, what are you going with the Shawn Michaels? Got the Shawn Michaels.
We're letting it down.
We're letting it down. We're letting it all out. We're letting it down because, hey, this one, when I saw this, I knew I had to ask you about this one. This pertains to Triple H, your favorite guy in the business. On site, going back a couple WrestleManias ago, you promised on site you drop him.
Philanthropist, right? Paul the best.
We've got an on-site bomb drop here from Ryback. Read this here to you here. I actually got the graphic, but I'll read it to everybody here. So Ryback claims that Triple H may have already had a secret relationship with Caitlyn. As Ryback said, I have it on close accord from people that came and told me with things that were directly involved with her, that something went down between her and Hunter. Then she leaves the company almost immediately afterwards. Do you think that's a coincidence? As he bases that as a question there. People cheat on their spouses all the time. Not want to interfere what they do in their own lives, but this is business, right? So as we see across the board, especially everything going on with the with Mr. McMahon and the tie-ins, the Netflix doc getting ready to drop, speculation that once it comes out, it's all coming out. Shit's going to hit the fan. Everybody's going to be going down. Is going to be sinking from the old regime here. Your thoughts? And I know, hey, here on the Hamin Media Group on our platform, other podcasts, the Sheets themselves, they've talked about at times where Stephanie and H would go extended periods without rocking those wedding rings. Potential here for scandal to come out after your boy Triple H here, John.
I mean, would you really be that shocked if Ryback was telling the truth? I mean, he sounds like a bitter dude a lot, but like, I don't know, bro. Like, would you really be that shocked?
I think, a lot of the things with Ryback, it's just, you're right, maybe the way in his presentation he comes off with it. It's
the messenger, right? It's not the message.
Pissed. But you think about it, it's like, this might make a lot of sense. And really at this point, maybe why is he lying? Like, what does he have to gain to, continually come at you with this kind of stuff?
Well, everybody thinks it's bitter sour grapes over his whole thing about being Twitter banned and whatnot and having his, audience throttled. But sometimes it's not the message. Sometimes it's the messenger, right? Like, the message might not be the worst message in the world, but kind of depends on who's delivering it, And I'm sure maybe if somebody else was the messenger, it might be taken a lot more seriously. But I feel like it's not gonna land as hard just because who the messenger is.
I heard Colin, he has a type: muscles, fake tits, and muscle clits. That is his type there. That's the first thing.
This video's not getting monetized.
Hold on. You know what? That actually, Colin actually got me on that one because he's regularly involved in a conversation we have about those. So that has never made it to air. So I pulled the curtain back here.
You heard that, Colin? Rick is associating you with the muscle clits.
The muscle clit click. That is a.
Oh, brother.
So, but hey, think about that. I mean, that's kind of his type there. It's a little China-esque, a little bit.
I don't know. Hey, man, different strokes for different folks. Not my thing. But, yeah, usually trends are a thing in gambling. So I wouldn't be surprised trends are also there for some certain people's love lives. But he's been around the road for what? How many years, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, for the sake, not necessarily for Triple H, but just
No, I was talking about Ryback. He's heard some stories, right? So like he's got like, I'm sure there's a few stories of Ryback delivered him that could be 100% true. I'm not saying this one is, allegedly all that good stuff, but like, sure Ryback's got ammo to bury some people, but like I said, it's the messenger, not the message.
Hey, back in the day, I used to pitch to Timmy Baltimore. Because, he was the stuff that he had seen with his job at OVW, working, right hand with Dusty, and even when they went to FCW, where he would just be in charge of transportation, driving people back for their rooms back and forth. The stuff that he had seen, I always convinced him that we should have done a pod special just called Timmy B's Hotels, the exclusive stories from behind the scenes of the stuff that he saw going on inside of the wrestling bubble down there.
Yeah, some stories are better left untold. You can't really, he ruined some people real bad with some of that stuff, dude.
Yeah, I guess before this turns into an episode of TMZ, we need to revert back to just our values at the HMG. We'll get ready to close it out here, Hartnett. Of course, coming up. Are you going to be joining us this week for the 1 month? Hopefully have both of you guys back and maybe get a guest in there with us because, again, it's the Bottom Line Sports Talk podcast comes at you Thursdays right here on this channel, the Hamin Media Group YouTube channel. Please smash that subscribe, get the alerts, get your thumbs up on all of our videos here. But, brother, this is going to be a big episode. Might run a little long.
Are they seeing this when I do this thing?
Yeah. We're picking up your – yeah.
How about that?
But hey, there's a lot to cover. I'm going to work in some WNBA talk, but we got MLB postseason, big games, conference play has started up in college football, fireworks are going.
We got fireworks, baby. Oh, dude, I'm figuring all this out right now. Why haven't you been doing this, Rick?
I don't have an iPhone. That's when
Dazzler.
That's your gimmicks up there. So I just got the.
Is it my gimmick? It's not like I'm in StreamYard, brother. It's a StreamYard.
I know.
Go throw them up. Throw them up.
No, it's an.
You're on.
I know, but you're on.
Put your thumb up. You're not.
You're
doing
on
it.
An iPhone, right?
Tell them, chat. Turn it sideways, like The Rock says. See, sideways.
Hey, you got anything you want to put over before we get the hell out of here?
Yeah, I'm putting over these freaking sweet little graphics. Look, I
all right.
You in the face.
It's because it's on your iPhone. It's not on StreamYard. You son of a bitch.
These people are seeing it. They're seeing it. I'm electric.
Yeah, on your phone. It's there. It's tied in. It is the magic of electronics in whatever entertainment and electronics. The amazing advancements that we live in here.
9-2 against the spread.
Again, Julian Hartnett and myself this Thursday. I'm sure JB will be with us. Who knows what other of our talking heads are insiders with their expert takes there. Again, it's going to be 3:16 right here, YouTube Hamin Media Group. But again, every day we got something. We got I Like It Raw, Big Ray and Jimmy T. You got the next level with the vet ups in there with Big Ray. You got the Impact Attack, the Smack Attack, the Friday Locker Room, all the reviews, the watch alongs with Let's Go Brandon. Yeah, we are like the kings of live streaming here on our channel. We are looking to hit our numbers, looking to grow those subs so we can get monetized. And again, thank you to everybody out there. I am on my way downtown Cincinnati. I'm gonna go get me a couple of them. Oh yeah, hey, can I hear it from your dog?
Muscle clits.
Hey, muscle clits, cheese cones, hot dogs. That's what we're about here on the HMG Monday Locker Room. Thank you, everybody.